going into this, Dr. Harmon, you can unmute yourself. Can you explain why these effects are happening to Paul? Like, why is it helping him with his phantom pain and, you know, maybe the itch in the arm, medical side of it?
Sure. I want to start with a little bit of foundational stuff about the brain. It's what I do here. I'm board certified in reading EEGs, which is electroencephalogram. That looks at the electrical activity in the brain. So when you have pain, when someone has pain, there's an initial spot which is the source of the pain. But if the pain stays there long enough, and if you focus on it long enough, then it will actually be processed. That pain starts to shift over to be processed in the emotional center of the brain, not in the pain where we sense pain. So the source of the pain may be gone, like the amputation, but that pain is already being processed in a different part of the brain, and it's being perceived as still there. Well, we know that the X39 helps the brain regulate itself again. Symptoms come from where there's too much activity or too little activity. Whether it's depression, anxiety, pain, chronic pain syndrome, seizures, those things, stuttering, those things come, there's either too much activity or too little activity. That's where we get symptoms. So as I was thinking about how I could explain this to you, as far as understanding why would pain go away from just wearing a patch? Well, we know that the X39 elevates a peptide in our bloodstream called the GHK copper peptide. And if you just Google GHK copper peptide and neuroprotective, you'll get different papers that have been written and research that's been done on the benefit effects of that GHK copper peptide. Well, when we use the patch, it starts to affect the brain beneficially, and his pain, the source of the pain, was really not there because the leg is gone, right? So it's just a memory of that pain. It's being processed in a different center, and that means that there's too much activity or electrical pulses going to the brain, through the brain, when there doesn't need to be, because the source of the pain is gone. So then once the brain gets regulated down into normal limits, a lot of different things can change. Obviously, also pain. We've actually started to include these patches in our protocols here at the office because we do EEGs of the brain, looking at where there's not good regulation of itself by the brain, and people will have all kinds of different symptoms. But once you get those symptoms, the electrical activity back to normal, the symptoms just go away because they're a result of, again, having too much or too little activity in the brain where there doesn't need to be that. So it might be pain, it might be other types of things that people have, like maybe on the spectrum, maybe has already started Alzheimer's or dementia. They've shown how the patches can help with getting rid of some of the proteins that get deposited. So there are all kinds of wonderful things that happen by wearing that X39 patch. And that doesn't even say anything about the stem cells that it increases, because only one effect of the GHK copper peptide is that it tells your body, basically signals your body to make more stem cells. All kinds of other benefits are gained by increasing the GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream. I encourage you to look at that. and find out about all of those benefits. This is why we get such a wide variety of things that people benefit, or things that go away, symptoms that go away, problems that get resolved by wearing that patch, because of so many things being affected by the GHK. And so I know you want me to talk about this anyway, so let's talk about some of those other things about the GHK. We all know, if you say genes, everybody knows what genes are. That's kind of like generally accepted in the population. You know what our genes are. We have over 20,000 genes. They age as we get older, and we get a little bit of damage to them. Our body uses the GHK copper peptide to repair the endings of those genes that get damaged. 4,200 of them. So that gene might have something to do with hair growth. If it's been damaged and you're losing your hair, then all of a sudden that gene gets repaired. Now it can start doing its job, and then you can start growing hair. Mine, actually, I've been using the X39 for about 6 months, and I didn't realize it, but my hair that used to be a lot more gray is starting to get brown on top again. And a friend of mine had to tell me that. She said, "Did you realize that your hair's getting brown again on the top of your head?" I said, "Well, I don't look at the top of my head." She said, "Bend over," and she took a picture, and you can see it right there where it's starting to get brown again. And then other people started to notice. So you cannot dictate where the patches are going to go, or where the stem cells are going to go, or how it's going to affect your body. So don't make a judgment on 4 days of using the patch. This happened with my hair at about 4.5 months. You know, that didn't happen overnight. And you can't say to your stem cells, "Okay, I want you to go fix that," or "I want you to fix this. I don't have any phantom pain, so fix that." Here's what we know. The patch, wearing the patch, the company called LifeWave, that's been around for 15 years, the company had to prove to the US Patent Office that wearing the patch elevates that GHK copper peptide in the bloodstream. That's a proven fact. There are all kinds of benefits that happen by raising that GHK copper peptide. So when you are embarking on this journey of wearing a patch, don't let a lack of a life-altering event in your first 4 days determine whether or not you're going to keep using that patch. It's actually a little bit short-sighted for anyone to do that, because you don't know what's going to happen. My big change didn't come until about 2 months. That was when I got all kinds of changes in my digestive tract that I had problems with for years and years. And now I just digest my food. I don't even have to take digestive enzymes. Other people have huge shifts in 4 days, 3 days, 2 days. You don't know how it's going to affect you. The company recommends you use them for 90 days and has a 90-day money-back guarantee for consumers. So the patch, and unfortunately, I don't have any with me in this room. I usually have in my hand. Jackson, if you could show the X39 sleeve and the patch, what it looks like. They come in a container called a sleeve, and that's what he just showed. And it looks like a little Band-Aid, a round Band-Aid. It looks like the little ones that, you know, your kids always ask if they bump themselves. "I need a Band-Aid, Mommy." By the way, telling them that a Band-Aid's not going to do anything does not work. Just put the dang thing on there and they'll feel better. With little kids, I don't know if any other parents have had a child, you know, they just bump their knee or something, they want a Band-Aid. There's no cut, but it makes them feel better, right? Well, this patch makes us feel better in a lot different way. You know, you don't have to have a cut. In fact, Paul, you were talking about a scar. If you're not wearing an X39 right on that scar, you should, because that GHK copper peptide increases production of collagen or destroys collagen. Why would you want to destroy it? You would want to destroy it if it's laid down in a haphazard way. Scar tissue. It helps get rid of that scar tissue. So I'd put it either right on that or right, but you already do. Okay. He's got it covered. Good man. So we have the X39 that comes in a sleeve. You can get it through the person who invited you to this Zoom. One-time purchase is $149.95, or you can actually go on auto ship and you can get it at wholesale. Another way of getting it is to actually decide if you want to start maybe sharing it with others. Then you can get enrolled with the company. And there are different ways of doing that. You can, there are different ways of enrolling, anywhere from just getting one sleeve of X39 all the way up to 19 sleeves. They're different packages. I suggest that you at least get a silver pack if you're going to start out. You get 3 sleeves. Each one of those is a month's supply that'll give you enough to share with other people. That's where I started. I started with the silver pack, but here's what I found. My biggest problem after a few days was running out of patches. I ran out because every single person I asked, hey, would you like to try some free samples? Everyone wanted to try them, and so I ran out very quickly, and then I just upgraded to what's called a diamond pack. And it doesn't matter which one you start with, because you can upgrade at any time, but or start out with at the level you can. However that does. I want to tell you a little bit about the company as well. David Schmidt, the founder of the company, figured out, and I have a hard time even thinking, how would anybody even think of things like this? But he figured out if you combine some organic crystals, some amino acids and salts, and mix them up and put them in a little thing that looks like this Band-Aid, the infrared heat from our body activates those crystals. And if you know what a prism does, you know, you shine a light into a prism and then it gets separated out into all the different colors. I think that this is part of what happens with those crystals, is the infrared heat and other biophotons coming from our body interact with those crystals, and it either alters it slightly or reflects very specific frequencies back into the body. That X39 frequency coming from that actually turns back on the GHK copper peptide, the one that I was just talking about, with all of those benefits of all the things that it does. One of the benefits is it increases our stem cell production. So that's the technology. He invented it. The company's 15 years old and has different patches, but then introduced the X39, and every single month is now a record month in the company. It's gone incredibly quickly for me. I've been just blown away on how, when you have a product that everyone uses, and imagine you have someone in your close circle who tells you this happened to me. I've been a nurse for 22 years and I had MS and I had to retire, and I was using a walker, and after 5 days of wearing the X39, I'm doing wall squats and walking without my walker. How many people in that person's circle do you think is going to know about that? Everybody. All of the brothers and sisters, all of the nieces and nephews, the neighbors are going to know about this person. So what happens is you get this incredible word of mouth spreading of, hey, I got these from that guy. And then you get all these referrals, and then you'll start getting a lot of momentum. So if you can imagine, I've been in practice for 30 years, and in 6 months, this has grown to the point where this little business that I started during the quarantine is actually generating about $250,000 in business. And it's blown me away, because I never did that in any of my practice. I had a chiropractic practice. I've never done that, but it's actually not as much work as I did being hunched over, adjusting patients all day in my chiropractic practice. And I only tell you that to tell you the potential. You just tell a few people if it's something that you want to do, you share it with a few people, and then it just grows organically because everybody starts telling everybody about it. So I would encourage you to, if you want to try some, get with the person who invited you to this call. If you want to share some, talk about getting an enrollment kit and just getting started that way. Either way, use the patches yourself, because everybody needs to feel, everybody wants to feel and look their best as we age. And the X39 has been the best thing that I have found in my 66 years of helping from a foundational level, not just taking a vitamin for one specific thing. It actually saves me over $100 a month in digestive enzymes that I don't even have to use anymore. Jackson, are there any other questions that you want me to answer?
No, mate. That was perfect. That was amazing. Thank you.
I'll tell my wife that.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Harmon. We really appreciate you being on this call.
You're very welcome.